Are you a fan of the NES classic Star Tropics? Well, check out my new book, The Test of Island Courage, a Star Tropics tribute. This book is a massive tribute to Star Tropics and Star Tropics 2 Zoda's Revenge. It has reviews, character bios, and the entire Star Tropics 1 and 2 story as told by Mike Jones. So if you're a fan of Star Tropics, make sure to get your copy of A Test of Island Courage, a Star Tropics tribute today. Link in the description below. Hey guys, Ryan here, and welcome aboard the Popcorn Rocket, broadcasting from space for awesome video game memories. And we're going to talk about something a little different this time, a couple of editorials about the video game community and beyond. Well, enjoy.
Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas and welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories Story Time, where I talk about funny stories about video games. Okay, sorry guys, I won't be doing the entire video like that, hold on. Yeah, so welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories Story Time. So this is where I tell stories about something gaming related, not exactly pertaining to one particular game or a series, but something gaming related. So I'd like to tell the story about games I asked for Christmas when I was a kid. So my earliest memories of asking for games when I was a kid dates back to the 3rd grade. I think I wanted to get a Turbo Express, you know, the portable TurboGrafx 16. Now none of the kids I knew owned a TurboGrafx 16. So why the hell did I want to get this thing? Because it was in color. Yeah, color. So I remember asking Santa for Super Mario Land on Game Boy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall the Foot Clan on Game Boy, and the Turbo Express. And I only got 2 out of 3. So I guess I was a really bad boy that year. Although in retrospect, Turtles, Fall the Foot Clan, and Super Mario Land were probably about $30 to $40 each, while the Turbo Express was $200, so Santa, my parents, couldn't really afford that. Then I remember the next year, when I got Megaman 3 for the NES, I remember like going, whoa, I got Megaman 3! I was on the floor like, yeah! Yes, I got Megaman 3! I got Megaman 3! Then I remember the next year in the 5th grade, I remember asking specifically for Super Nintendo with Super Mario World, the Flintstones, The Adventures of Dino and Hoppy on the NES, and Mega Man 4 on the NES. I got none of them. And we all know how much the Flintstones, the Search for Dino and Hoppy goes for now. Oh, and plus my grades in the 5th grade were really bad. That was one of my worst years, so I think I deserved to not get presents that year since I was a bad boy. And then next year in the 6th grade, I remember asking for Tecmo Super Bowl and Mega Man 5. I only got Tecmo Super Bowl because Mega Man 5 wasn't put into stores until early 1993. So I bought Mega Man 5 with my own money. Then when I was in the 7th grade, from 93 to 94, I remember Sonic the Hedgehog was the big thing. You know, I watched both of the cartoons, so I wanted a Sega Genesis with Sonic 2. And I got it! And I also remember that year Santa ate some of the cookies I left, but he kind of left the milk half drunk. Then, in 1994 to 95, when I was in the 8th grade, my world came crashing down when my parents finally confessed to me, Santa's not real. No! Well, so I have not gotten presents from Santa for the past 20 years, ever since my parents confessed it to me, but I decided to act as Santa for a couple of family members and friends for a little while back when they were young, and then they kind of realized, oh, you're just giving me these, Ryan. You're the real Santa. That's right! Ho ho ho! Although I also do remember rushing through Target when I was a kid, I kind of cut this guy off and he was like, "Well, some people are just so rude!" Well, of course, my 13-year-old mind couldn't even comprehend who he was talking about. He was talking about somebody else, right? You know, the non-existent guy who was next to me running to right. So the tradition of Santa giving me video games for Christmas only lasted up until I was a teenager. But I do admit, it was pretty fun, like going to bed during Christmas Eve, although I couldn't even go to sleep, but then waking up and opening all my gifts. Although if I was born later, I could have been like the Nintendo 64 kids. Although I did have my Megaman 3 moments. It was more like, Megaman 3! Oh my god! Yeah, I didn't get the N64 till early 1999. Yeah, so that wraps up this episode of Awesome Video Game Memories Storytime. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan.
And I'm John from the BoobTube.
And we're talking about saving money for gaming.
Totally worth it.
The most common response that people would give, like, how do you save money for gaming? Well, we have a job, but how did we save money for gaming as kids?
Well, my dad always told me you had to work.
Yep, mine too.
That's pretty much it, to save your money. But before then, we were, my brother and I were usually good kids growing up. Well, I was, more or less.
Right.
My brother on the other. But anyways, when we were good, we would usually get either allowances for our hard work or birthday gifts with the video games and stuff like that. But when I was about 10 or 11 or so, when the N64 came out, that's when I really got hooked and started buying and playing video games more seriously.
Right.
And of course, you know, I wanted to buy this game, whether it be WrestleMania or GoldenEye or something else. And it's just like, there wasn't much money because at the time video games were like $50 or $60, which in comparison, which is
it's still pretty much the
same amount today. But still, that still was a lot of money when you were a kid and teenager and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Like like when I was a kid, I would get video games as birthday presents and gifts. And then probably when I was in like the 7th grade, my mom and dad were like, "You have to learn how to work to get your games." So I remember very distinctly in 1994, before I went into the 8th grade. I saved up all my money for Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. Like, I remember I was like mowing the lawn, I was doing the laundry, I was washing my baby sister's bottles, which was a nightmare to do. And then I remember I came up pretty short. I only got like $48, and the game was $49.99 plus tax.
Plus tax, that's where they get you, man.
Yeah, but luckily my mom was lenient on me, saying, "Okay, well, you did enough work, let's go get the game."
Yeah.
Yep.
When I was growing up, I lived out in the countryside of California, so we had a lot of garbage. So what I did was, as for an extra work, I walked down the street and I just picked up recyclables, pretty much.
Yeah, see, I tried doing the recycling bit when I was younger, but I just couldn't get enough to get even $1. Like, I remember I picked up a whole bag of cans. I only got like 40 cents for it.
Well,
like you probably picked up like a
as a true Californian, when it comes to recycling, we know how to recycle. Stock up and sell when the time is right.
Right. Yeah, I probably should have saved up a lot more of those cans.
It wouldn't make much of a difference. They still screw people over with recycling today.
So, like, when did you get your first job?
Oh, man. That was way back when I was, I want to say when I was in middle school, maybe in the 7th grade or 8th grade.
Oh, wow. I started way earlier than I did.
Yeah, well, I mean, back then, we had to work on, doing business model programs and all that stuff. It's just pretty much just like a leg up for new teenagers. It was a program for teenagers who wanted to start working somewhere, but they don't have the job, but it's a small program exercise. It was like a 4-hour work job, like every other couple of days. And what we did was, me and a few other kids would dismantle old computers, pretty much. Because, there was that whole transition between the 90s and the 2000s where people were throwing out their old clunky computer monitors and keyboards for the newer, slimmer models and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We had to remove the parts, because when you remove the parts, there was also a lot of, what do you call it? The inside of your monitors and all that stuff?
Yeah, kind of. Well, like a lot of motherboards?
Motherboards, and yeah, because there's a lot of, there's small fragments of either copper and gold inside of those things, which they can be recycled and reused, melted down and be reused for something else. So we took those apart, placed it to the side, and moved on to the next one. Pretty much.
That's cool. And like, how much were you paid for that?
Oh, man. It was minimum wage at the time,
minimum wage at the time.
Whatever minimum wage was back in 2000.
Oh, 2000.
Yeah.
Well, my first job was I worked at a library mending books, but although the first 2 years of high school, like I was too young to actually get paid, so like I did it for community service. But then when I finally got paid when I was 16, like I was being paid like $5.50 an hour, which was the federal minimum wage back in like 1997. And so then I would work for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I got that first paycheck for like I think $300. I was like, yeah, I made money, and then I just blew that on like PlayStation games.
That's always the case.
Well, but then after that, my parents were like, well, we need this money. Well, you need to start paying for your own gas.
Yeah, I mean, the value of a dollar can go very long, and you can go a very long way. But when it comes to video games, it's more or less kind of like a second-class thing to buy, because you also gotta get food, you gotta get gas money for your car, and everything else.
And I think everything changed, after I graduated high school, I went to college, I moved out of my parents' house for the first time, and then I realized I couldn't spend all my money on video games as much anymore. Like, I gotta pay the rent.
Yeah.
But luckily, though, my parents, like I was renting a room at the time, and then and I was like barely making like minimum wage, so I made enough to pay for my rent and maybe buy one game on the side. But my parents were kind enough to give me $200 extra a month for groceries. And gee, I wonder what I spent that on.
Yeah. When I got it between high school and college, for me, I would have to say that most of my games had to come. My Xbox games came from other friends who played it, and because at the time Xbox did this thing with achievement score points and everything else when the Xbox One came out.
Yeah.
Or was it 360?
Yeah,
it was 360.
It was a 360.
Yeah, when the Xbox 360 came out, it was a big deal when it came to unlocking achievements for points and everything else. But of course, that means nothing nowadays. But before then, it was a big thing because people bragged about it, and I usually got a lot of friends who gave me the video game after they got a 1,000 gamer score and all that stuff.
Oh, really?
So it was a great way to save my money just a little bit here and there.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's how I usually got through most of the 2000s.
Yeah, and how often did you buy used games?
Oh man. Every so often. I know when it came to a very, I would say maybe a couple times out of the year, but when it came to like the newest game, like I had to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. On
like
day one.
Yeah, game like Grand Theft Auto or something else along those lines. I was like, I had to buy it around there on the spot. It was like a couple times, maybe once or twice out of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Used games, it's more or less a deal. But then again, I like the GameStop deals and everything else, and their coupons and 10% off, which I thought was a lot at the time, but of course that was later. More BS.
Yeah, because I joined that GameStop Power Rewards program way back in the day, and I barely ever used it.
No, I mean it was about as handy as the travel rewards. You just spend more money just to get one discount off of a semi-okay game that was half the price.
Yeah, like nowadays, how often do you buy games?
Just very rarely. I mean, mostly I usually download them off DLCs or if it's a really cool game. But nowadays, my money's tied up with other things, whether it be rent, groceries, dog bills, and everything else.
Yeah, usually maybe once a month I'll buy a game. But I usually like to buy a lot of special deals. Sometimes PlayStation will have those $5 deals, and also Xbox will have those $5 deals for the digital games though.
Yeah, I try to look for good prices here and there. If it's very small, anywhere $20, $10, I'll be sure, why not?
Right. Yeah, guys, as adults we gotta spend our money on other things like bills, like you mentioned.
Yeah, pretty much.
If we can just eliminate those bills, then we can buy more games, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan.
And I'm, of course, John from the BoobTube.
And we're talking about gaming as kids versus gaming as adults.
Splendid!
So, as a kid, how often did you game?
All the time.
All the time. Like when my parents put that Nintendo in front of me back in 1988 during Christmas time.
You know the exact year.
Yep, I know the exact year because that's when I first got my NES.
Wow.
That changed my life forever in both good and bad ways, but mostly good. Believe me, good.
Nice. I would have to say the first time for me was way back in the early 90s or something like that when it was mostly, like I said, mostly hand-me-downs or whatever because we didn't have much money at the time, but I had other family members who were playing either the Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, and we played on that, Super Mario and everything else. It wasn't until like around we had a little bit more money that we could afford a Sega Genesis and everything else, N64 and that sort of thing. So at the time, we just had to make do with what we had.
Okay, cool. So how did you balance gaming and homework and actually having some sort of a social life as a kid?
Some sort of a social life.
As a kid, I didn't have much of a social life.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. I mean, the thing...
Introverts rule!
Yeah, for introverts like us, it was a hard time interacting and making friends and everything else, which is why we had to rely more on the artificial world of video gaming, because in there everyone respected us, everyone loved us, but
even though they weren't real.
Even though they weren't real, but at the same time, when you accomplish something or beat that opponent and just keep playing the video game that same level over and over again, that higher difficulty, you just get more of a satisfaction out of it.
Exactly, because Mario and Sonic love us.
Yeah, very much.
And also, but as you started growing up, how did your responsibilities versus gaming start to balance out? Because I distinctly remember in high school, they started giving us homework on the weekends, and I remember I was like, ew, gross, homework on the weekends.
Well, my parents always told me education was far more important, and there were times where even my dad got so infuriated because my brother and I got so hooked on video games to the point where he even had to grab the N64 console, take it out, and said, I'm going to throw this off the patio if you don't do your homework.
Holy crap.
Or don't do the chores and stuff like that.
Actually, my dad kind of did that with my Super Nintendo too. He's like, I'm going to take this away if you don't get your grades up.
Our dad's great.
Yeah, dads are being dads. But nowadays, I realize why they did that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, we're a lot older, we grow more mature, we actually have lives, relationships with other people and everything else.
Exactly.
So, we try to make do with what we have, but in the long run, when it comes to it, the real world is far more important than it comes to the video games.
Yeah, because I remember, in college, I was starting to drift away from video games a little bit because, I was working, I had to go to school, and I wasn't doing too well in school, so I had to get my grades up, and I kind of had to put video games a bit to the side.
I had to. The thing about me is that I'm more of a mind over matter kind of guy, so I had to selectively, before I started my YouTube channel, I knew it was going to take up a good chunk of my time. So what I did was, I had to selectively remove video gaming altogether.
Right.
It was not easy, but it was still.
Yeah, I agree.
But you still just kind of had to force yourself out of it, and I did for the first year and a half or so when I started my own YouTube channel and everything else, and I'm slowly getting back into. And just recently, or this year alone, I'm slowly getting back into it and whatnot. Also because just with a few hours of free time here and there, not too much, but I try to make do with what I can.
All right, awesome.
But nowadays, of course, when we're adults, and thanks to the glory of the internet, we can also share our gaming experiences with other people on streams.
Actually, like what we're doing right now. Nowadays, as an adult, I actually don't have as much time to game. It's kind of ironic. I have a channel about gaming, but I actually don't have as much time to game, but I still have to make videos about gaming. So I kind of try to set aside 2 hours a day to game, but I spend most of that time when I'm working on YouTube videos. I actually do go to the gym 5 times a week now. So I have to do that first when I get home from work, and then I gotta eat, then I gotta do YouTube videos, and then that's when I do my gaming.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all about timing and when you want to do it. Pretty much just free time, more or less.
And also, I've been taking my DS to work and also my Switch, and I just leave them inside the car, or I just put them. I just bring them in a pack, and then I leave it in my desk, and then I'll play inside the car.
Yeah, or for most of us who are usually on the go and also travel light, we usually have to rely on mobile gaming as well.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely a lot of mobile gaming.
Hey, I'm a level 38 Pokemon player, so what about it?
I'm on World 4 on Super Mario Run.
Nice.
As you grow older, do you think you'll be drifting a little more away from gaming, or will you, continue gaming the way you are right now?
Maybe. That's a good question. I would have to say that I will probably continue, but there's going to be some things at some point or another where I have to make some changes again. Those changes will have to include selectively removing those video gamings for a while, and that's just due to personal reasons and everything else.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like in the future, I mean, I'd like to keep on gaming, but I don't know if I'm gonna like play games like all day. Like I was kind of hoping when I retire, like when I'm like 65 or older, I'd have more time to do gaming. But yeah, I'll still play games as like an old man, but I'll go out and like socialize and take walks.
Well, just be careful when you play them when you get older, because otherwise you get fat bearded gnomes calling you a pedos on the internet.
Oh yeah, that's true. Be careful.
Hey everybody, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, especially subscribe, and make sure to click on that notification bell so you know when we release new videos, because YouTube's probably not going to tell you. And if you want to see me play games live, make sure to follow me at twitch.tv/BattleGeekPlus, and if you have a Twitch Prime account, make sure to subscribe so you can get awesome perks like subscriber badges and much more. And if you want to support us, make sure to support us on patreon.com/Ryan Molina, because every dollar helps me bring you a better show. And also make sure to follow me on Twitter at @RyanMolina and at BattleGeekPlus. And also make sure to check out the official Battle Geek Plus website for a complete listing of our books, merchandise, t-shirts, and a lot more. Alright, thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out these other videos right here. Thanks and take care.